Hello and welcome. We are here for Ashley's Heart Song. This is the place where we get out of the stress and back into our body, our life, and our business. When we tap into the song of our heart, that is when we master our mind and the stress that can steal our life. Thank you for joining me today for this show. And I love the idea of this show. The top 5 books that I've read that have helped make a nudge, that have helped created that space for me to see what I couldn't see. And in that, it gave me permission to step forward and move forward into change and all that that brings. And sometimes change isn't fun, but we do need a nudge sometimes because let's face it, y'all, we are human and we love to feel safe. We love to feel safe, and what we know is that we feel safe with what we know, with what we're familiar with. And when we're moving forward into uncharted waters, that is when it gets a little uncomfortable. And sometimes we need the nudge. And many times those nudges can come from songs, can come from a friend, can come from an experience, but it can also come from books. And today I'm going to share with you 5 of the books that helped me walk into some change that really I needed. I needed a foothold in order to get myself up and over that wall that was preventing me from moving forward in my life. And I have read many books that are my favorite. I have. I love to read. I love to learn. And these are just 5 out of the multitude of books that I've read that to me were ones that really stood out in my mind that helped me get over, not get over, well, get over the wall, get over the block, but also just the little nudges. It was almost like the timing of them slipped in. And yes, every book seems to come at the perfect time, but these were 5 that I thought would be a great way for us to kick off this doorway that we're about to enter into. So if you're watching this show live or right after it was recorded, you know that we are about to step into a new year. And anytime we're about to step into a new year, there are these walls that'll come up that'll stop us to keep us safe and comfortable feeling. And we've spoken about this with the stress response that we can have. And these books are ones that maybe one of these will trigger something in you so that as you enter into the new year and through this doorway of opportunity, that maybe you have a block that's keeping you from moving forward, and maybe one of these books will help you. So let's get rolling on this special show. All right, so the first book I want to bring attention to, which if you have been following me for very long, you know that I did a complete summer series on this one book because I love it so much. It was one of the first books I read for a class in college, and it is called Your Greatest Power by J. Martin Coe. And as you can tell, it is an old book. I've had it for, gosh, what is that? I've had it since 1985, probably 1984, 1985, and it has been with me ever since. And it is one I refer to often. And what your greatest power talks about is your greatest power. The one greatest power that you have, it's your superpower. And that great power is your power to choose. Your power to choose if life is working for you or against you. Your power to choose if you're going to think the life-giving thought or the life-stealing thought. Your power to choose in any circumstance the way that you're going to walk through it, what you're going to believe from it. You have the power to choose how you want to see a situation and experience. Your perspective and what you choose to believe is your choice. It's in your power. And that is what he speaks so eloquently to in this book. And I wanted to read an excerpt out of it. I'll do that from each book, something that really stands out for me. And in Your Greatest Power, J. Martin Coe says, be careful. It is just as easy to be careful as it is to be careless. You do care what happens and you know it. Keep thinking good thoughts. Keep thoughts that will help you, not harm you. It is important because through this greatest power, the power to choose, life becomes what you think and choose it to be. Every situation becomes what we choose it to be. So, a situation you're in, maybe you're in a tough one right now. Maybe you've had a disagreement. Maybe you've been in a conversation where the perspectives were different. Maybe you have been in an experience that really challenged you, and the way you were seeing it was harmful to you, harmful emotionally, harmfully, whatever it is. Well, we have the power to choose our belief for the rest of our life around that situation. And believe you me, y'all, how you believe about that, which I know you've experienced this just as I've experienced it, that how we believe something, when we go through our life and we believe that it was yucky, that it was harmful, that it was toxic, that it was um, maybe just that other person was wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong. I'm right. I'm right. And when we choose to believe in that ego and we move forward, and that ego is just for protection, y'all. That's it. And I'm talking about situations that are everyday situations, disagreements with people, um, circumstances that you find yourself in that you wish you weren't in. Just it's things like that. I'm not talking about traumas. I'm not talking about things like that. Those are an animal all their own. And yes, inside of those, we still have the power to choose. We have the power to choose if life is going to work for us or against us at any given time. And sometimes those experiences are our greatest teachers on strength and resilience and moving forward, moving ahead with love and joy instead of with anger and frustration and disappointment. We have the power to choose that at any given time. And y'all, right now, I am speaking to me. I am. We're all human. And we do this, and it's because we want to feel safe. We want to feel safe. And sometimes to make ourselves feel safe, it's believing in something that is not working in our favor. However, we do have the power to choose at any given moment if we want to believe that something is working in our favor or not. So I know I started with the biggie, but y'all imagine being a 19-year-old that went off to college and was having new life experiences. And when I read this book, it hit me like a bolt of lightning that while I was in college, while I was having all these experiences of that age, that I was the one at the helm. I was the orchestrator of my life, and I could choose to believe that something was working for me or against me. And it brought new light to me at that age. And then throughout my time since college, and that I have thought about this, my greatest power is my power to choose how I feel about something. Wow. It has helped me through so many stages in my life, was knowing that I had the power to choose to be offended or the power to go, okay, it is what it is. Let's move forward. How about you? How does that sink in? I know, y'all, it's a biggie. I started off with a biggie. But Get Your Greatest Power by J. Martin Coe. It's also on Audible, I believe. Was it on Audible? Yes, Audible, and it is also on digital. So you can get a Kindle version of it as well. All right, so J. Martin Coe, Your Greatest Power. Next up on the docket. So going through my life, probably about another decade forward, I began, I had a really difficult time. It was during that time of life where it just got difficult for me. And it's my greatest teacher, that decade of my life that was really tough. It's my greatest teacher, and it's helped me. And through that, and through fear of food, fear of eating, fear of all of that stuff, I came across a book called Nourishing Wisdom. Sorry, I want to get this. Nourishing Wisdom by Mark David. Nourishing Wisdom by Mark David. And as you can see, this is one of my favorite books. I love this book. it helped me. It helped me in my relationship with food and myself. It helped me to understand who I was as an eater, who I was, and what my beliefs were about food, and what my beliefs were about being present with food, and how I really was in regards to my relationship with food. So if you are having a difficult relationship with food, if you're seeing food as the enemy, food as the thing that's going to harm you, food as the one that puts the weight on, food is in the wrong all the time. Well, really, food is nourishing, y'all. Food is nourishing, and food, we are meant to eat food, and it's our belief around the food that tells if it's going to be beneficial for us. So I wanted to read something from this book as well. Two parts that I'm going to read to you on this one. And one thing that I wrote on a little note sheet that I had put in here was you're what you eat, not you eat what you are. And that is very intriguing, isn't it? You are what you eat, not you eat what you are. We don't eat what we are. We are what we eat. And the healthiest food may prove unhealthy. The healthiest food may prove unhealthy. It's the motivation for eating the food. If the motivation for eating the food is based off of fear of disease, fear of putting on weight, rather than the love of life, that is when beneficial food may not benefit you. And at this time when I was terrified to eat, but I was only eating clean food, I had to know exactly where the food came from. I had to prepare it because eating at a restaurant was paralyzing for me. But still eating that food because it had to be a certain way. And if it wasn't a certain way or anything, I was in a stressed state, and that was no longer nutritional for me. And so it's interesting, isn't it, that all in how we feel on the inside determines how that food is going to be processed in a beneficial way or an unbeneficial way. And there are 5 steps to whole body eating. And I'm just going to read about one of them, but I did want to tell you what the 5 steps of whole body eating. So we make a conscious choice to eat is step 1. You make that conscious, present choice to eat. You ask your body what it wants. What would be most nourishing right now? You eat with awareness. This is whole body eating. You are all there. You are present. You are breathing, and you're doing it slowly, and you're in awareness. And then you listen for feedback. You listen for feedback from the gut brain on if you need another bite, or if you need more time to wait, or if that food is not nourishing for you and you need to move on to the next one. Then you release the meal. You release it. You let it go. You don't think anything more about it. You enjoyed it while it was there. And then after that, it's done. So if you did this with a bowl of popcorn and after you eat it, you put it away, you release that meal. You do not feel guilty about it. You don't feel anything. After a holiday meal, you don't keep thinking about that meal and feeling guilt about it. We let it go. We release the meal. We let it go. Mark David also says, don't just eat the food, eat the ambiance, eat the colors, eat the aromas, eat the conversations, eat the company sitting next to you, eat the entire experience. We don't just hunger for food alone, we hunger for the experience of it, the tasting, the chewing, the sensuousness, the enjoyment, the textures, the sounds, and the satisfaction. So eating is truly an experience. It's not to be done not thinking. It's not to be done out of reaction to something. It's to be done with consciousness. It's to be done with presence. It's to be done with awareness that what you're eating is nourishing for you. So, Nourishing Wisdom by Mark David, one of my favorites, as you can tell from all the notes. All right, the next book I wanted to bring up, this book came to me um, when I was needing nourishment, like the spiritual nourishment, the everyday nourishment. And I love daily readers, don't you? The books that have, you read just one excerpt a day and it just fills you up. It gives you something to think about, food for your mind, food for your body. And they're just powerful. Daily readers are powerful. And this daily reader, which it's a really popular one, but it's called Jesus is Calling, and by Sarah Young. And I love this one too. It's powerful. It has little nuggets that you can pick out every single day. And it's so interesting because it always seems so relevant for me. Every time I read an excerpt from it, the day that it was written on, in this case, December 22nd, December 23rd. So on December 23rd, when I'd read December 23rd, it always seemed like it just impacted me on that day. It was just so beautiful. But there's one that was very relevant for me because of, and some of you may have felt this too, but that unrest where you feel like your internal rhythm is running at an octave too high or maybe 10 octaves too high. And it feels as though you're running Mach 10 with your hair on fire. And I love this one because it is all about, pardon me, it's all about the stillness that we can find, the peace that we can find. Because that peace we're looking for is within. The peace is not external. And that's what I thought when I was running Mach 10 with my hair on fire, anxiety running amok. I was looking for the peace outside of me when the peace was within me. It was already there. I just had to be still a minute and tap into it. So in this one, it says, let go of cares and worries so that you can receive my peace. Let go of cares and worries so you can receive my peace. Cease striving and know that I am God. That was super powerful for me. Cease striving, cease worrying, letting go of all of that. We as humans, we have a difficult time letting go. We do. We keep bringing up things from the past and thinking about them over and over again. How did I do? Did I do it okay? What does that person think? What does they think of me? We can go back and live in the past over and over and over again when all of that is aging our body, because every time we go back to think about that and to worry about it, our body goes into a state of stress. A state of stress brings about free radical damage. We have chest breathing, which creates overbreathing, which creates that oxidative stress. We store fat. We demineralize our bones become weaker. I mean, y'all, it's not a pretty picture. We create aging when we are continuing to review what we're worried about, what we're thinking about in the past. That is aging the physical body, aging the soulful body. And in that, inside of all of that, all we've got to do is just let go. Consciously let go, be present, and accept and receive the peace. Receive the peace because the peace is already there. It's already there. You just got to be going, okay, I'm going to take it. I am going to receive the peace. I'm going to integrate it into my very being. That's all. Isn't that beautiful? It's a gift. It is a gift that is already there. We just have to receive it. Just have to receive it. So to let go of cares and worries is about you deciding that you're not going to do it anymore. It's really about every time you notice yourself worrying that you go, oh no, I let it go. I release, I let it go. I receive peace every time. And you may have to do it 10 times in a minute. You may have to do it 50 times all day long. But the more you do it, the more you're going to stop doing it. And you're going to find that there's time and space between that thought. Because when we starve the neural pathway that train of thought is on, and we starve it, we stop thinking about it, we stop feeding it, it begins to lessen its power over us. Now, we can always bring that power back to it the more we start thinking about it again. But imagine if you could starve it and not think about it anymore and let a lot of time pass, continuing to release it, continuing to receive the peace. Imagine after a month of doing that, imagine after a week of doing that, it's not going to come to your mind as much anymore because that neural pathway is starved. You didn't keep feeding it. So the idea here is don't feed the worry, feed the peace. Keep receiving the peace. Okay, so next on the docket is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I loved this because of one of the agreements that seems to plague me the most. And that one is don't take anything personal. One of the agreements is don't take it personal. And there are times when it is so hard not to take something personal. It feels like a direct hit right to the heart, you know? And in that, when you take something personal, when we take that in, we begin to react. We begin to, oh, I got to take up for myself. I've got to defend myself. Well, really, do you really? Do you really got to defend yourself? I was recently in a situation and it was very difficult not to defend myself. And it was very difficult. And I just continued to just, breathe, continue to breathe. And there are times when I've taken things personal and I didn't breathe. And I reacted instead. This almost feels like an Ashley confession hour, doesn't it? When I'm just sharing my books and my journey along with these books. And it was it's very eye-opening when you do just let things go, when we could take them personal. There's a lightness, a lightness. And at first it's difficult. And then the more you do it, I think it gets easier. There's a lightness to it. But what I wanted to read to you on this was the other agreements for sure. So one is be impeccable with your word. That one's also a really big one for me, to be impeccable with your word, because sometimes I don't know about you, but do you ever want to say something and you're trying to say it, but it just doesn't come out the way that you wanted it to come out? And so that one is also can be a challenging one, but to be impeccable with your word, say what you mean and mean what you say, and don't say anything unless you can say it the way that you mean it. So a lot of times it's about us just not saying anything at all and just being quiet and doing more listening versus speaking. That way, when we do speak, we are able to speak and say what we mean. Not all the time, but hopefully some of the time. Remember, y'all, we're humans and we practice. We just practice. We learn all these things from these books that are valuable, and we just continue to practice. And we mess up, and then sometimes we succeed, and we just keep going. It's just about being real with yourself and knowing that you're not perfect. I'm not perfect by any means. I'm still working with all of the elements that these books have brought me, the ideas, the newness, the invitations. I'm still working with every single one of them because I do fail. We all do. We're just human beings. Grace. Thank goodness for grace. That's all I can say. So be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personal. Don't make assumptions, is the third one that they have listed. Don't make assumptions. Don't assume anything. Don't assume you know what somebody's thinking. Don't assume. You don't know what's going on in somebody else's life. You have no idea. You have no idea. None of us know what is really happening in someone else's life. So how can we dare make an assumption? We do because we're human, and our brain likes to tell a story. Not a story isn't a lie, but we like to create stories. Our brain creates stories. Why? To make us feel better, to make us feel safe. It's just what it is. But when we can stop that, when we can have the discipline to control our mind, control our thoughts, and gear our mind towards what is good, what is right, what is fair, what is noble. When we turn our mind to that, that is when our life becomes more of what we want. Less judgy and more fun, more joy filled. Oh, and then it's always do your best. Always, always, always do your best. No matter what, you always do your best at not only those three agreements, but in everything else in your life. You always do your best. So that is the four agreements of the book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And let's see if I had something chosen. Yes, I did. I had an excerpt from his book chosen as well. Whenever we hear an opinion and believe it, we make an agreement, and it becomes part of our belief system. So whenever we hear an opinion and we believe it, we make it a part of our belief system. We just created an agreement to believe it, and it's now there. So when we hear an opinion, that's when we can take advantage of the 7 seconds to decide if it's true or not for us personally. You have 7 blessed seconds before that opinion that someone just gave you and your brain recorded it. You have 7 seconds to dispute it and send it away, rebuke it, or for it to set up shop as a neural pathway in your mind to where it's repeated and it becomes ingrained and embedded in you, and you continue to believe it and go on with your life with that belief system. That's powerful, isn't it? But you have 7 seconds to rebuke it or accept it. So when you hear an opinion, take it through the 7 seconds and decide, ask that question, do I want this to be a permanent agreement for my life? No, 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 no. The majority of the time, it's a no, no, no. Rebuke it. No, I'm going to let that one slide. Truth for me. What is the belief that I have in this arena? Record that belief that you have, that you want, that is life-giving. Record that one. So that one sticks. Yes, 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 yes. All right, y'all. Final book. Final book is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. This is an interesting book. This book helps you to see your upper limits. Your upper limits are those blocks that aren't letting you go to the next level, are not letting you succeed to the level in which you want. They're upper limits. And this book was eye-opening. It was eye-opening. You know, sometimes books are difficult reads because you go, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, seriously, I've done this to myself. I created this world. I created this condition. Y'all, that's tough. That is tough to accept. It's tough to see that we create the condition that is going on in our internal world, our internal environment, and our external world and external environment. We're the creators of it. And this book right here lets you see that very clearly. And it was a very beneficial book, a tough one, like I said, but it was good. So something I wrote that may help you in your look to see what upper limits are keeping you, because we if you're watching this live, we're about to enter into a new year. And entering into a new year, we want to leave the past behind and step forward into a new year, one that is filled with all what's possible. And hopefully these books are helping you to be able to just, determine, ooh, what do I need to read to move forward into the new year? But this little excerpt, what I wrote, was see worry thoughts as upper limit symptoms. So, the thoughts that can come into our mind that we kind of worry over, meaning we are saying them over and over and over again. Look at those as upper limit symptoms. They're the symptom of a bigger issue, a symptom of a bigger block, a bigger pattern. Something's going on. So if you find yourself standing in the shower in the evening and you're replaying something over and over and over in your mind, that could be a symptom of the upper limit that is keeping you from creating a life that you would truly love. Wow. So we are really not blind to what our blocks are, our upper limits. We are not blind to them. We have them. We know them. We just turned a blind eye to them, a deaf ear to them. We ignore them. We suppress them. We think, oh no, that wouldn't affect me. That's not affecting me. Right? Do you hear that a lot in your own head? When somebody says, oh, you may want to look at that again and see if that is creating an experience for you that is not life-giving. But we go, no, that doesn't bother me at all. Or, yeah, that happened, but yeah, I'm just going to get over it. I'm just going to learn to live with disappointment, just move on. Well, those are all symptoms of the upper limit that's blocking you from moving forward. So our own thoughts are the symptoms of the upper limit. So look at your thoughts. Over the next week, 2 weeks, really evaluate what are the thoughts going on in your mind, because they are the breadcrumbs that are going to lead you to the brick wall that you have in front of you that's keeping you from moving forward into the next year with success and all that's possible and joy and fun. Is this big brick wall, and you got to get over that brick wall, move through it before the new year hits, and take an evaluation and see what are these symptoms that are going through my mind as thoughts that could give me a hint as to what is blocking me from moving forward, from really creating success in my next year. Yeah. Y'all, personal work is so fun and can be challenging. And I say it's so fun because there's work involved. And so it's always fun, but it's difficult. It's sometimes really hard to really see what is going on. What is going on within? What is the war that's being waged within that is holding you back? It's difficult to see it sometimes. We don't want to see it sometimes because that means that we're wrong. It means that we created the condition, and coming to terms with creating our own condition, it can be disappointing. It can be discouraging. But really, on the other side of that, when we look at, wait a minute, if I created this, then that means I can uncreate it and create something new. So when we take the Hawkeye view and we go, oh, thank you for these lessons. Thank you for the lessons around what I was creating within myself and in my external world. I created it. Wow. Do y'all know how much power that is? So if you created the unrest, you can create the rest. You can create the goodness. You can create possibilities. You can create opportunities. That's powerful. You are that powerful. I am that powerful. We create our life. So, what are you going to create? What will you create in this coming year? What would you love? Take a look and see what you don't want to move forward with. Take a look and see what baggage you're carrying, what thoughts, belief systems, patterns that you're carrying that have been blocking you. Let them go. Release them and receive the peace, receive the golden nuggets of moving forward into all what's possible for you and for me, for the world. Taking that personal responsibility for our own life, how we've created it, will set you free. It will set you free. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Ashley's Heart Song. I look forward to seeing you next time on same time, same channel on the Win Win Women TV network as we continue to armor up our lives. See you soon.